Hey sweeties, how are you doing? Welcome to Nanyacim. If this is your first time of coming across this channel, sweetheart, kindly smash the subscribe button, turn on the notification so you get notified each time I upload, and please give this video a thumb up. Thank you so much, and I appreciate you all for coming back to watch my videos. You are awesome. A very big shout out to Come Natural for sending this video to me. She sent it and was like, I think this is gonna be very vital to your channel, and trust me, this is very vital. So sweeties, and the video says, are all white people racist? You know what, the answer is gonna shock you. Stay glued to your screen. Let's get into the video and then run this tissue.
Are all white people racist?
100%. How can you be a white South African and not be racist? And I don't mean that in the way of you necessarily consciously think that black people are inferior. I mean that there is just no way that you could have been born into this society without internalizing racist assumptions. But let's not make that the end of the conversation. It's not racist, it's just a fact. Let's not make that the end of the conversation. Let's say, yes, sure, we are all racist, and what are we going to do about it? Let's move on. Let's not make that the final insult.
Monique, do you agree with Rebecca saying 100%?
No,
all white people are racist?
I disagree with what she's saying. I think that whiteness and white privilege has become this buzzword that you hear all the time. But actually, it's a way to silence anyone that is not of color. What she was basically saying is, if you are a white person, you are racist just because you are white, without any evidence. I am not a racist person. I respect all people. I respect black people, white people, colored people. So I feel it's very offensive to say that all white people are racist. It's just not true. And I think that to make whiteness the enemy is easier to fight than to fight the crippling corruption, to fight unemployment, to fight to fight the wealth gap, because the political leaders that we have cannot fight that stuff. They don't have the skills to fight that, and then they make race the problem.
Ooh,
so
Sarah.
Sorry.
You look like you totally disagree here.
I do totally disagree. I think that I'm a little bit torn because I really want to reply to a bit of what Monique has said, but I also really don't want this conversation where we have a potential to disrupt whiteness to be centered around the type of whiteness that is displaying the racism that you say that you aren't. I mean, the comment about people not having skills is inherently racist.
Yes.
Just to point out one thing. I think we should have the conversation about how to give back the land. I think that's what we should do.
Do you agree with Monique?
Well, I think that what we need to look at is an element of complicity, Mr. Chaba. And I think that fundamentally what we haven't unpacked, we've gone through the TRC process, and what we haven't understood is how white people have benefited firstly from apartheid, and secondly how a particular group of white people in this country have become fabulously rich off the back of apartheid. Now, I think that white complicity, overall we can look at, and the responsibility to promote social justice in our country firstly. But when we have two families, there are two families in this country, the Oppenheimers and the Ruperts, names we don't necessarily all know, who have as much wealth as 50% of our people. It's an extraordinary crime. We should call it nothing else. That must be challenged. It's a crime against our humanity, and it's the humanity of 50 million people in this country. That's precisely where we need to focus at and say, how did you make your money during apartheid? How did you build those networks? And how do you retain and entrench your power in the last 20 years? And quite clearly, no one is disrupting that power fundamentally.
All right, Loveland.
I think what Elisa was trying to raise earlier about, PJ's song, yes, struggle hero, or you fought and whatever. I think the problem is that we forget that white people today have the option of tapping out, right? So you can sing Jabulani and you can dance, but then you can also remove yourself from the lived experiences of the culture that you're trying. I'm sorry, I'm speaking. From the culture that you're trying to represent. That doesn't make you a bad person. It's just the truth of the situation. And I think in South Africa, this is really what the conversation needs to be about. We need to talk about, why did apartheid end? Why did colonialism end? It didn't end because people's perspectives and behavior changed. It ended because it was expensive. It ended because white people couldn't travel anymore. It ended because they couldn't go and play sport, because entertainment for white people was over. Therefore, they needed to bring equality. That's not, we need to be honest. You must be honest about this. So for me, when we want to have this conversation, it's easy to say, let's talk about the Rainbow Nation. Of course, you can look forward if your life was never tainted by the experience of apartheid. Of course, you can look forward. It's not the same. And that
There is so much. The black lady was hitting the nail like at the right spot, and that was absolutely brilliant. All right, so let's get in and see other, like, the stitches we got from other like during my research. So here we go.
Do you believe that? Do you believe all white people are inherently racist?
So I don't know if you're backing me into a corner with that question, but yes, I do.
All right. First of all, I want to start off by saying the audacity of this white woman to even ask such a question. They were having a dialogue about critical race theory, and she just threw this question in there. But since she did, let's get at it. This type of question is like asking, are all people inherently thieves? A lot of people will say, I've never stole a thing in my life. But then the question has to be asked, have you ever been put in a circumstance that strips you down to the core of who you are? Like, would you steal if you were starving? Or have your children ever been hungry? Your answers change based off of things like that. Well, the legacy of white supremacy has created a world that white people don't have to be racist in today. This is why it's so crazy when you run into somebody who actually is racist. It's like, you guys won and got away with everything. What are you mad about? What are you tripping about? Follow the language. Wherever you find their language, you will most likely find the most brutal forms of rape, torture, murder, pedophilia, slavery, deception, etc. How many Africans do you have speaking French, but they're not from France? Go all through South America, you'll run into black, brown, and red people who are speaking Spanish and they're not from Spain. Ask the Congolese people what happened when they came into contact with the white folks coming out of Belgium. Over 10 to 15 million of them murdered, mutilated, killed, children's body parts being hung up in the middle of the streets to make an example of who's in power there. Go to Brazil and see original people speaking Portuguese, but they're not from Portugal. Ask the Aborigines what happened when they came into contact with white folks in Australia. Hell, I'm speaking English right now, and ask the African and the Native Americans what happened when we came into contact with the English. Go to Bermuda and watch the Queen of England on their money, etc., etc., etc. The same story. Different countries with different white folks who all woke up with the same idea to go around the world and brutalize indigenous people. So the barbaric whites come in and take everything, and then the good whites come behind and drink tea and treat you right? Maybe you don't have to show inherent racism because you inherited a legacy of racism that affords you the privilege to not have to be racist. Yeah, it's easy to be nice when 91% of nuclear warheads is owned by Russia and America. How we all act when Africa is a superpower with weapons of mass destruction like every other independent nation? Because ain't nothing more dangerous or racist than a scared white person. Could you trust a nigga with a trigger? I do believe that there are solid white folks in this climate who may want better for all. White people today have the chance to show a better face through action, not through lying about history, like how public school taught me that the first president, George Washington, never told a lie and then skipped over all the slaves that he owned. Bottom line, our days of trying to figure out if there are some good white folk, those days are over. Our only job is to produce independent culture that empowers us, that protects us, and that makes us less vulnerable to every damn thing.
You see that we need to raise independent culture, like where you do not have to depend on any other person, like you do not, like, the country do not have to, like, fall back at a lot, like, other country, wherever you cannot do your things, and then within yourself empower one another. That is very, very important. Then, do you know the truth? The truth is that they lied. They said so many lies to us, especially in everything they thought so many people in history classes were watch, right? They did not say the truth. They were not taught the right thing. And the major thing that happened during back then, they are still hiding it. They do not want it to know it. They do not want it. They do not want it to be taught. I have been saying, why not? People need to know. Teach them. The truth needs to be told, because we need to heal. And for we to heal, we need to heal properly, right? Tell us the truth. Say the truth so that we'll know the truth and decide if, okay, I want to heal, and then it's time to let go. But then it's not just something one person got to say, right? It's something that, like, eventually you heal on your own, and you're ready to move on, and the rest of it. The truth is that they really did rob us a whole lot, right? And it is still happening. I remember one video that I did, and the woman was like asking like it for them it was a survivor, right? They were trying to survive, and they are still trying to survive on us, right? And they do not want to leave. Like almost everything they are, like everything they got is from we. Like what is it that they did not take from us? Is it the gold, the oil, the every damn thing from Africa? So I personally feel like, yeah, you see that, like, you know, setting that standard and making everyone flourish in their own way and building our own, it's quite very vital, very, very important. And really, that is something like, you know, we don't need to neglect. All right, let's get into the next stage and see what they got to tell us. Here we go.
No way that you could have been born into this society without internalizing racism.
That looks racist, right? But it's not. The issue that many white people have when it comes to the term racist is that they define it as affiliating traits to a race. But that's not what racism is. Racism is assuming inherent qualities or tendencies based on somebody's race, and typically speaking or acting based on those assumptions or beliefs. To say all white people are racist doesn't suggest that all white people are born holding racist beliefs. In fact, usually an educated person saying this knows that nobody is born with racist beliefs. But a person saying that all white people are racist is recognizing that people's thoughts and beliefs are in large part constructed by society, and that a white person, against their will and consciousness, is bound to be influenced in society which we recognize as racist, and so that will in turn develop racist thoughts and beliefs and tendencies, more so implicit than conscious, in white people. The reason this is even harder for white people to grasp is because of the amount of burden it puts on them. It requires them to put in an effort to recognize what they don't consciously think about, but think about unconsciously. And naturally, they give pushback to ideas like this because who wants to feel like they're influenced by things they can't control?
So we'll get into the last one and see what she got to tell us. Here we go.
All white people are racist. If that statement upset you, then pay attention. A common response that I get when I say that is that everyone has prejudice. Yeah, we know. No one escapes the programming of our society. However, if the society was designed for you, there's no way to not be influenced by that. The status quo, i.e. racism, has always served me. So of course I'm comfortable, and of course I don't see it. I don't think that should be a problem for us to admit. No one chooses how they grow up, but as we become adults, we do become then responsible for how our bias manifests itself. The sooner that we admit that, the sooner that we can move on to more important conversations. Even me saying this is centering white people in an issue that doesn't affect us.
She actually spilled the fat, you know, being responsible by how you're biased, like, you know, really this is a very, very important discussion, like, you know, and I absolutely enjoy, like, you know, reacting to this and like talking about it. And then the truth is that the earlier the better. And I personally think that history should be, like, they should teach history in full. There is no need for cut and join. You don't have to cut and join it. You don't have to hide the truth from people, right? Tell us the real thing, because that is where they are missing out. Some people are missing out the point from, like, you know, telling them the real thing. Teach them the real thing so they can stand and understand where the problem came from, because you can't fight what you don't know. That is it. And you can't say what you were not taught, except, like, you know, probably went down yourself to start digging deep and all the rest of it. So absolutely, this is an amazing one, and thank you so much for watching to this very moment. See you all in my next video. Bye for now.